Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dog with none other than the man, the myth, with no belly button, shirtless, coming at you live from the Caribbean, drinking his rum slushy, Karl Bryan. How are you, big shooter?
There you go, Shoots. I'm doing well, and you be correct. I am hanging out in the Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean, bud. And not gonna lie, nice place, bud. Never been here before. I love it.
Are we gonna have to move up the time of the podcast because, like, do you just start drinking at noon, or how does that?
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. However, I can tell you that the fact that it's 1 o'clock where I am now, and it's only 10 o'clock where I am, where you are, where we are, kind of wild, Shoots, kind of wild. But not going to lie, I love this joint, and I'm okay with the time change.
I cannot wait to see the pictures and for the limousine to show up a la Gordon Gekko style, driving me to the airport. To walk around for a live episode, but I won't hold my breath today because you know what? I'm still waiting. I didn't realize that 2 weeks had blown by that fast. I'm still waiting on that Tuesday lunch that you promised 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we crashed and burned there, Shoots. I apologize. I'm pretty sure it was the last podcast. We ended it with a date, and I apologize. But I'll tell you, we've had lost luggage. We've had delays like you have no idea getting out of Canada. If you're following the news, it's not the easiest thing in the world right now, but that's okay. We made it, and I apologize, Shoots. I owe you lunch.
And you know what? Exactly, no one's feeling sorry for you as you're sitting on a beach with Turks and Caicos right now.
Yeah. Okay. This be true.
Anyways, let's. Are you ready to dive in? Are you ready to do this?
Do this. Let's do it.
I lob a couple of softballs at you. Are you ready to hit it?
Yeah.
We're not
maybe do that.
The beginning of beginning of another calendar year. Everybody's super pumped, super excited. So let me ask you, because one of the main things typically what I guess probably a lot of people will want to do is upgrade sort of the clients, right? Their coaching clients. So do you need to take a different approach to higher end buyers? How's that for an opening question for you?
Oh, boom. Okay, there we go. Hang on. Sorry. Different approach to higher end buyers?
Like would you, again, a lot of people are going to probably be like, man, I want to get a higher end clientele. Do I need to take a different approach to, I guess, attracting these people? Because the question just reads, do I need to take a different approach to higher end buyers? Yeah,
great question. Okay. And look, answer is absolutely like it. Not sure if you mean for clients' businesses, but your coaching clients' business, but pretty much the same for both. When you're thinking people, everybody's broke and nobody has any money, and there's a lot of coaches that have that, framework or belief. Look, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but 2,500 people every single day become millionaires in North America, probably more. Like certain things happen every day, Road Dog, right? Like a mom will lock her keys in the car, happens every day. Traffic is, brutal at the worst possible time, and the guy misses a meeting, happens every day. You've been to Starbucks and there's a slow moving line and there's a guy waiting, and then he gets to the front and there's a long line behind him, by the way, and magically he forgets what he wants to order when he gets up there, right? Has to think about it. These things happen every day, but things happen and nobody notices, and things like that you probably should let go unnoticed. But 2,500 new millionaires every single day is something on the, what do we call it? The I should notice this and do something about it list, let's call it. Like I'm in the Caribbean. You know what? When I was coming through, I bought some high-end rum. Spent a pretty penny on it. In fact, it's right here. And it comes with some pretty flashy marketing material here. It's 2015, what is it? Celebration Banana Lace Turks and Caicos Caribbean rum. There are only 500 bottles in production, which made it an exclusive opportunity. So I'm only one of 500 people, right? It's a mix of 7 different straight rums made by fermenting, then distilling sugarcane molasses, each aged from 5 to 30 years, and bottled at cask strength, 49.7% alcohol by volume. They also described it as a rum with rich banana lacing, hint of vanilla and honey oats, the result being a long, dry, flavorful finish and a blend that makes it enjoyable. It resonates on your palate even more deeply and with greater complexity. Each bottle comes this is off the marketing material, each bottle comes in a deep red wood and leather embossed box with an 18 karat gold on both cork and label, which was applied and bottled in the Caribbean, right? So there's more here, right? But no doubt that doesn't sound like, and by the way, if you're listening to that and you're like, wow, this is really dragging on, that's how you sell a bottle that could otherwise sell for $12 at the local liquor store or at 7-Eleven, or something that's, the same thing roughly that you could buy for $12 for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? Like, it's exclusive as heck. It wasn't $12, and drinking it is like an experience. Well, you're not just going to pop this on Monday night because you're thirsty. The same with, think of more, maybe a really expensive bottle of wine, right? Like, that's where you might go. Like, wealthy people, well, all people wealthy are ones that like can afford it, right? But they want 2 things. Wealthy people want 2 things: exclusivity and experiences. Okay. I'd encourage you to write that down. Wealthy people, forget wealthy people. Your higher end buyers are looking for 2 things from you: exclusivity and experiences. And they're looking for 2 things from your coaching clients, right? So, like, sell your coaching like an experience as opposed to a transaction. Help your clients create an experience, but also have an experience, with and through you. I remember I used to own a hockey rink, and we'd take kids to, like, if you play hockey, what's debatably the number 1 hockey country in the world? It's Canada, right? And if it's not automatic off of maybe you're thinking Russia, maybe you're thinking the US, getting significantly better at it every day. But Canada is kind of like the home of hockey, I'd like to think, right? Well, to this day, I get emails and messages from kids who we took to Canada decades ago, and they tell me that was the highlight of their hockey career. In some cases, absolutely a highlight of their life. And like, we made it so they were playing hockey, which was semi-transactional, and then that's what was going on. That was our business. That was the product. But then we created an experience where, like, well, you're a hockey player. We take you to Canada. You're playing against Canadians and Canadian rinks, Canadian fans, Canadian scarves, snow on the ground, super cold outside. It was an experience, right? And by the way, it wasn't cheap. If your client sold perfume, maybe you could create a custom line, right? Like, for that special individual that's not willing to settle for anything less than, I don't know, what, their own unique fragrance, right? Like, take a first class trip to Paris, France, to the precious, what do we call it? The home of perfume. I don't know, is that a thing? Right? And meet our 5th generation master pure perfumer, Benoit Giroux, who, to create like royalty, first ladies, kings, queens, movie stars, and other prestigious clientele before you, create the perfect personal scent for you. And, while in Paris, the city of love, where perfume was invented, and I have no idea about that, by the way, but let's assume, you and your guests will dine with Benoit, the head honcho of the perfume palace or whatever I called it, enjoy 5-star accommodations at the Ritz Paris, and enjoy white glove car service, private tour of Paris, and generally treated like royalty as you go to the home of perfume. A trip like that is not going to be cheap. And for the right person, it's something that they can't live without. It's an experience, and it's something they're looking to. If your client sells anti-aging skin cream, like they have a, what do you call it, like a Botox, like a Medi Spa, right? Like take people to where it was invented, and like teach them about it. Maybe this is a great idea, maybe it's a bad idea, but creating experiences for high-end clientele is never a bad idea. Your client sells diamonds, take them to a South American diamond mine. Sell motorbike, take them to where they're made. Sell cars, take them to Italy, or take your high-end clients to the backstage experience at an F1 race, right? You sell coaching, take your clients to Vegas, and rather than gamble, take them on an educational walk to highest end hotels and explain how a tour of the Bellagio and hotels like it, like explaining, examining why people pay premium to basically be there, right? Open your mind to the possibilities. Maybe these are great examples. Maybe these are bad examples, but like, that's why we go to Cancun with our business coaching mastery, right? Like I personally love it. I love the beach. The ocean brings out, hopes and dreams and aspirations. Like for me personally, that's what it brings out. I just think at a significantly higher level when I'm there, right? And my hope is that it does the same for our coaches. And that's why we bring them there, right? Like people are attracted to and will pay luxury margins for experiences and exclusive opportunities, and ideally both at the same time, right? Like one of a kind, a unique personalized perfume. Who's got that? Who's offering that? The answer is next to nobody, right? The price comes with these things alone. It's a large degree of exclusivity, right? And here's another hack for your high-end buyers. If anything, like there's emotional drivers, right, that will lead people to do something. And amongst many, but sometimes kind of surprising drivers, is that they like to be told in a roundabout way, and not necessarily in this many words, although that would be fine. You deserve this, and most others do not. And if you own this exclusive thing, your perfume, that ride, that Paris trip, or do this exclusive experience, owning it, doing it will command respect. Okay. Like you kind of get like in your, like when you get a bottle of rum and it's got it's really, really high end and embossed wood and leather and that sort of thing. I don't know. It's exclusive, and an experience. And I think that's very important, Road Dog. So yeah, I'm just like, when you buy a Ferrari and there's only 200 of them made or 1,000 of them made, they're saying exactly this, but in different terms, right? That this is exclusive and this is an experience, right? They know, like, you buy a Ferrari and you spend, literally millions of dollars on it. You only drive it 20 times a year, depending on where you live, of course, right? But like, it's not a family car, right? Like if you have kids, you literally can't take your kids in the Ferrari because there's only another seat, right? If you got one kid and then your wife's staying behind, right? So I don't know, Road Dog. That's so the answer is yes. And everything, everyone collects or desires something. Like wealthy folks can simply afford to have or are willing to have more expensive things. So they're pay more for those, to collect or those experiences that they're having. And they prefer it. Like again, the guy who buys the Ferrari would rather pay more because he knows that everybody else can't have it. That's where he's buying exclusivity, right? And okay, I think also, and I'm just trying to kind of not so much dummy this down because I don't think that's possible in terms of this isn't for just the local chiropractor. You got to be able to think at a significantly higher level. But they also spend healthy amounts of money on information type products around things that they collect, right? So like travel to places where they can find what they collect, right? So again, a guy who collects cars going to Italy is going to be more than just the average person going to Italy. They want to show off these things. They want to collect these things. They want to hang out with other people that also collect these things. And they also want to spend money on maintaining those things, by the way, that they spent a lot of money on. So semi-ironically also, these overpriced things they buy, they appreciate, right? So like art, jewelry, I don't know, handbags, watches. I got lots of watches. Personally, I'm a watch guy. Books, cars, sports memorabilia. So they overpay on this stuff, and then it actually appreciates over time. Whereas somebody else is, pinching pennies on getting whatever it is that they're getting, and then it ends up depreciating in an ironic way. So the rich are kind of getting richer, and you think about these things, and this is what's happening. So rather, like, maybe in some note, rather than investing in the stock market, might want to consider a percentage of their portfolio, of your client's portfolio and your portfolio in limited edition type collectibles, but never invest in something you don't understand, or certainly not something you're willing to research. But Road Dog, you need to sell different to high-end buyers, different name. You definitely take a different approach. So what do you think, Shoots? That's what I'd say.
Well, so with that in mind, because it's funny, right? You're talking about building a bit of a different experience. The thing that comes to mind for me with that as well would be, I remember going to Tony Robbins events, right? Like if you're because you mentioned the word proximity. Now, of course, to me, when you mention the word proximity is power, right? Like it's just like that's Tony Robbins 101. But like for his high end stuff, what's it called? The Partner Platinum program? Is that what it is?
Platinum. Yep. Platinum partnership. Yep.
What are you paying for that? Like 50 G's? I think it is.
Oh, $100,000.
Oh, is that what it is? So there you go, right? I'm not in the platinum. I might be in the bronze category. But anyways, so with that in mind, though, like look at what he's doing for those folks, right? So you join platinum, you're paying a premium, you get VIP backstage almost access, you get these experiences that he does around the world, right? So that's pretty cool. Where it's a completely different. And I love that. It's an experience, right? I think like if you just took that word alone, Karl, and just like, how is your coaching an experience, or is it yet just another la-di-da course? Like, how can you make it an experience? I think that's a fantastic question. But with that in mind, now if you're attracting some of these higher end people into your program or your experience, do you blend them in with your lower, like how does that work? Like how do you, like bring
do you just,
into the same environment? Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah. Look, good question. I remember a doctor asking, can I bring these higher end types of clients paying 10x, more, into the same area as I do, like, so his quality, what do you call them? Like his luxury margin type clients, they're paying 10x more into the same area as I do, his hundreds of other low end clients, and just have the higher end pay a premium inside the lower end area. And the answer is no, no, and no. But this is a psychological hack. But like, in that instance, you gotta build a wall, right? Like again, Tony Robbins, he brings everybody into UPW, but then he splits you up, right? Like the platinum partnership, you can't get into the platinum partnership area without paying the partnership fees, right? So let's go to the doctor. Like it's no, no, and no. Again, a bit of a psychological hack. I want you to think of having to build a wall. At a minimum, a partition, but more to the point, a wall, in something stronger. Create an appropriate high-end environment, a different door, a different decor, a different, lot of staff, differently dressed staff, a different name. Like this guy, he was worried about cost. He was thinking it was going to be too difficult. Not sure if it'll work. Psychological hack is this guy's not all in with the idea, right? So he decided, he was going to try it on the cheap. And then if it was working, he was going to improve. And then he would look to invest more in those customers or in that model. He would look to reinvest more once he started to see some success, right? Well, that's like asking your car to drive you around the city and then promising to drive, to feed it gas later, right? Like it's like, asking your campfire to burn and then promising wood a little bit later on in the night, right? It's just not the way it goes. So, like these people, 2,500 people a day becoming millionaires, whatever the number is, right? So anybody going to push back that these numbers, like, it's a lot, like, every day, right? And like, they want to be treated, you don't want to be treated, approached, and served in the same way as you did before, right? Like, why would you, right? Why would they? Think about that, right? So no, you need to create a wall, road dog. And again, like a different door, a lot of staff, a different decor, staff dressed in a different manner. So yeah, lumping everybody in one, because again, road dog, my fear here, and this is where I go psychological, is that people will go, oh, I feel like that's a good idea. I'll experiment with it and then reinvest as I see it working. And I understand where that comes from, and no doubt that could and would work in different dynamics, but the approach is to go, full on, and really separate those folks. So that's my answer. You gotta create a wall, man. You gotta create a wall.
Well, and the funny thing is that you're saying that too. I'm just thinking, like, just personalize it, right? Like, if you were the one paying the higher fee, what type of an experience would you want? Right? Yeah. Like, I think it's just, that would be a good way to look at it, because it's like, well, if you're paying more, you're typically expecting more, right? If you're flying first class versus flying coach, it's a different experience, and you're expecting more.
100%.
Right? 100%. Like, it's wild to me. So, just like anything, so, but okay. So with that in mind, like, how would you handle it when you're, like, currently targeting, I don't know, like, if the middle class even still exists, but you know what I mean? Like, you're sort of a mid-tier, if you will, sort of a client, and you want to go elite premium. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah. Okay. Here's my answer. Think this way, and this is for your clients and for you. Create global brands and then niche markets. Frankly, that's a marketing hack for me. This is a bit of a breakthrough moment, right? And I kind of went, oh, okay, I'm seeing this. Create a global brand and then niche markets. So I created Profit Acceleration Software, right? It's a global product for B2B folks. So we go to business coaches as our primary market, but we also go to accountants. We also go to, magazines, go to online directories, go to radio stations, go to digital marketers. Anybody selling advertising, absolutely. Going to promotional companies selling mugs, t-shirts. If think this through, right? Like, if you're buying a mug, or golf balls is a really common one, right? Like, what are you really buying? And they're trying to buy branding for their company, right? Well, golf, they need a hell of a lot more than golf balls. Of course, we know that, right? But they don't. So a real easy question is, what do you want to write on your golf ball? And then what they say is, like, always, like, really lame. And it's just a company logo, which is fine, by the way, like, whatever. But if they had something interesting to write on that golf ball, probably go a little bit further. So what you do is so if I owned a promotional company, let me tell you what I would do. If I owned a promotional company selling golf balls, I would do promotions from one side of the planet to the other, giving away free golf balls to entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs it's very common for an entrepreneur to love golf. Okay. So I would give away 100 free golf balls. That would pour gasoline on my lead generation. And now, by the way, the competition, what they're trying to sell, I'm doing for free, which means I could potentially crush them. If I do a good job, I will. And now what I would do is I'd give them 100 free golf balls. I would then say, what do you want to write on the golf ball? They would say something lame. I would say, well, look, good news. We've got an in-house consultant. They can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising. They would go, wow, or they're going to say, no, thank you. Let's just say it's 50-50. 50 say, yes, please. 50 say, no, thank you. Just give me the 100 free golf balls. Or, and by the way, I want 500, so I'll pay for 400 and I get 100 free. Thank you very much. Here's the invoice. Smell you later. The other 50% would go into our hopper, and then we'd run them through what we call, with our software, we call a profit jumpstart, where we find them $100,000 in 45 minutes. Basically, bingo, bango, bongo. And then at the end of that, it's like, look, do you want a little bit of help? Because, like, you're looking, you ordering golf balls because you're looking for some marketing and some business direction. And there's obviously some opportunities unrealized with you. if you'd like, we have a consulting division, a coaching division, a business development program where we can help you at $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, whatever you're, depending upon the fees and the size of the company. Let's just call it $2,000 a month for the sake of the argument. That would be $24,000 a year, right? So I took somebody from free golf balls to $24,000 unit of sale with about 80% margins. And I was making significantly slimmer margins on my golf balls, by the way, most likely. So you see what I did, Road Dog? Is that's what I did. Like, that's a business model, right? Where you're bringing them in for free, you're delivering them value, and then you're selling them a luxury product with luxury margins, which is consulting. That's, most people don't realize the biggest thing about coaching and consulting is that you make 70, 80% margins. This should put a smile on every business coach's face, but they don't realize it. Like, that's the magic, right? Versus when you sell a thing, you sell a tire, it costs you $100 to buy, and then you sell it for $200. You're like, well, depending, and then you've got infrastructure, and then you've got storage, and then you've got dispatch, and then you've got inventory management, et cetera, et cetera. So your margins go down and down and down and down and down. Business consulting, there's next to nothing. We sell information. We use our mouths and our ears to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with 70 to 80% margins. So, in a nutshell, Road Dog. What I would do, so that's the way that I would do it, but the way that I would get there is by offering, free golf balls from one side to the other, but how did I get there? Using my software as basically a global product, but then the niche market, we just went to a promotional company and took them from selling golf balls for tens of dollars and hundreds of dollars and maybe thousands of dollars for big orders, and put them in the consulting business of charging $24,000 to $100,000 for consulting with 70 to 80% margins. So I just want to make sure I'm answered. So global product niche market, right? Like Apple is a global brand, clearly, but they go to niche markets. Like they go to corporates, they go to artists, absolutely and positively, right? They go to graphic designers and these types. So they go to different markets. Like ClickFunnels is one that our audience would be familiar with. Again, it's a product that's used in all different markets, but you feel like it's just for internet marketers. But they actually go to like niches like MLM and do insanely well with separate campaigns, separate game plan when they go to MLM as opposed to, doing going to internet marketers. So anyways, and then by the way, if you want to go one step further, for each of those brands, you create 3 products, a low, a mid, and a high-end product. Okay, so maybe one that everybody's familiar with, like let's go Ford, right? Global brand, let's call it the F-150. So that's a niche market for Ford. And then they've got the F-150, they got the XL, the XLT, and the Platinum. And I'm not an F-150 guy. I don't know what I'm maybe, but that, as I understand it, those are models, right? My buddies all have F-150s, right? Road Dog, everybody drives them around Kelowna. So they've got these, roughly 3 models underneath, low end, mid end, and then high end. And they sell for, call it 75,000, 100,000, and 150,000 or whatever. For the higher end one, maybe a little more, maybe a little bit less. The Bronco just came out recently. Again, that is Ford is the global brand, and then the niche market, the Bronco is selling to somebody different than the F-150, and they've got the Bronco Sport, and no doubt they get a lower end offering. I got no idea. I remember buying an FJ Cruiser when I first landed back in Canada. I remember I saw the thing. It was the first year they came out. I saw it on a billboard. I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever. And I basically I bought one, but again, they had gold, silver, and bronze level FJ Cruisers, and they had 3 different price points, right? The iPad, again, I'm not an iPad expert. I'd be amazed if they don't have 3 price points. The iPhone, 3 price points, right? You buy a TV, they got 3 price points. So anyways, global brand, niche markets, and then each of those niche markets, you build a brand, and then they have, 3 products underneath each. Don't create 10 products. But maybe the moral of the story, what I'm trying to get at is it's not just one product and it's not 10 products. By understanding that you build a brand, 3 products, build a brand, 3 products, build a brand, 3 products, build a brand, free products. I think that'll help everybody with the framework. What do you think? That makes sense? You like that?
Well, it makes complete sense. And the other question I have is then you got to be thinking about the ascension, right? Like, how do you ascend people? So you use the example of ClickFunnels as an example there, right? So what's fascinating to me, again, ClickFunnels, not the best software, but definitely the best marketers of online sales funnels. But the thing that is interesting when you take a look at them, so they do this thing called Funnel Fridays. So they're going to give you, it's like, hey, we're going to give away some free funnels and you're going to watch us build them out. So think of what they're doing, the psychology behind that, right? It's like, look at how easy it is to build out. You know what? We're just going to give it to you in a 14-day free trial. Then from the free trial, guess what? You go to enough Funnel Fridays, you can only have I think 5 or 6 active funnels. Well, then what do you need to do? You need to upgrade your account. It's pretty brilliant when you think about it, right? It's just, there's their natural ascension, thinking that you need to have all these funnels, but in order to keep them all, you need to have the bigger account. So another thing I just want to really briefly talk about, we're talking about premium clients and all that sort of thing. Just the psychology, right? For you to dive in, you were mentioning golf balls. You know what you're not doing? You're not buying Pinnacle golf balls, right? You're buying Pro V1s. It's if you're branding to the higher end, don't cheap out on getting basically a rock of a golf ball when your market, your niche is going to know a difference. Does that sort of make sense? You're dealing with people that the psychology of them, you know what, if you're going for a higher end client, for them to go out for dinner and spend $200, that's not a big deal. Right? But when you're talking to a lower end client, for them to go out to Applebee's and spend $50, you know what I mean? It's a different mindset, and you have to approach that from a completely different standpoint. You have to understand the psychology of where people are based on who you're targeting. And I think that's a pretty big deal. What do you think?
Nice. Yeah, look, absolutely. But but ascension is what's important, right? So you're bringing them to a higher end golf ball, but it's more when you're selling golf balls, the margin, how much money are you ever going to make selling golf balls on average as a promotional company? Okay. It's going to be different for Ping and, Pinnacle One, et cetera. But when you go from golf ball to $24,000 unit of sale with 80% margins, this is where the magic is, right? And by the way, the question is, remember, problem, solution, problem. Do they really need golf balls? They actually think that golf balls are solving a problem for them, as though this is better branding, which is just insanity, right? It's do they have an upsell? Do they have a downsell? Do they have a cross sell? Do they have a proper upfront offer? You know what I mean? Do they have what you just described with ClickFunnels, where they've got the Funnel Friday, which is clearly, no doubt it's value add, but it's designed to drive people up the ascension ladder, right, to the higher end product. So, and then, by the way, which falls into business model, right? Do they have a proper business model? And there's about a 90% chance that the answer is no, if they're the average business owner, because they don't study this stuff. They don't know it. Remember, they're really good chiropractors, they're really good dentists, they're really good landscapers, they're really good roofers, and then they go into business, but they don't study business. And then when you tell them, gee, you need to go study business, they think to themselves, oh, I got to go commit 4 years into local school, right? And it's maybe not, probably not going to quite get you there, but you know what I mean? So it's this crazy, merry-go, you know what I mean? It's just the system. Business is complicated. It's like learning how to street fight. There's only one way to learn how to street fight. You got to go and, get in a couple scraps, but a little bit of advice is going to go a very, very, very long way. Bad advice, not going to work real well. Good advice, it can make life a whole lot easier for you. So there you go.
You're talking, the reference point that you pick is street fighting. Oh my God, that's beautiful. On so many levels, it's just absolutely.
Okay, I've been beat up in hockey maybe I should have used a hockey fight. Getting my butt kicked embarrassingly in front of all my friends and family in a hockey. That's what I should have used as an example because I have experience doing that. So there you go.
When I'm thinking Street Fight, the Street Fight you did was the Street Fighter on your Nintendo. Like that was.
But you know what I mean, right? Like truly, like fighting is one of those things that you can learn as much as you want about it until you've been there. What does Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched square in the nose, and then the plan's not so good. So I don't know. But the guy selling what I'm trying to bring across is like the guy selling golf balls, right? Like he's so, or the guy buying golf balls. He's thinking that he's branding his company and marketing his company by calling the local promotional company and getting Bugs t-shirts and golf balls. And it's eye-wateringly stupid. So that's what let's keep going, shits. Let's keep going.
There you go. Anyway, I do like this. And by the way, Carl, I do want to point something out though, because if we can just talk about this briefly, I think one of the biggest misconceptions out there is if I charge more, I have to do one-on-one coaching because there's far more value in one-on-one, right? Like we talked about the proximity is power thing. Like if you're coaching high-end people and you bring them together, there's so much value in that. Like can we talk about group versus one-on-one coaching for a minute?
Group. Okay, man. Yeah, group coaching, as you know, I spent 7 figures in the last 12 months on developing our group coaching software, which, by the way, some of the magic that's coming to it, my opinion, it's magic. The marketplace will let us know. But I got to tell you, it's bloody cool. But so yeah, like ultimately, my entire company is a group. People don't notice it's a group coaching program, right? That's really what it is. And the more coaches we bring in, the more high-level operators, the more low-end operators that we become, that become high-end. Because what ends up happening is they end up teaching us something along the way that I would have never learned. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not out there in the trenches right now. I'm not speaking to the chiropractor, the landscaper, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Although we well and truly have that, that data. And I don't want to make out like we're not on point, but we're not out there with the chiropractors, right? We're not. We're building the software. We're building out our program so that the way that it becomes better is by bringing in coaches that are basically doing this, and then they're using our software, and they're like, "Oh, we need this. Oh, it needs to do that." Like I got something on an email for one of our guys on the weekend, heavyweight. He's probably got 50 coaches underneath him, and he had 0 when he met us. He's now got a team of 50 coaches, doing unbelievably well, loving what he's doing. But he gave me some feedback. We built a client simulator, which will become, people will be hearing about that a lot in the not too distant future. But the bottom line is he pointed something out that I wouldn't have seen. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, and this is a mistake. Well, if he's right, and I dare say that he is, we need to test some stuff, right? But I dare say that he is. Well, his feedback, Road Dog, he's one of 1,000. So his feedback experiences and his willingness to tell me, this is a change that needs to be made. The other 999 existing coaches and the thousands to come in the future are going to benefit as a result of that one person's feedback, right? That's an example of group coaching. And so, look, just group coaching, the dynamic, to think that you have to be doing everything look, Tony Robbins, forget what I'm doing. Tony Robbins, group coaching on steroids. I mean, that's what the guy does, right? You mentioned the platinum program, right? $100,000, his $10,000. Like, here's Tony Robbins's model. Okay, he charges you roughly $1,000. I think it might be $1,500 nowadays, but just low end fee. $1,000, which by the way looks a lot like $100 a month, $1,200. That would be your membership site, but $100 a month, $1,000 one time. You show up and you do a 4-day UPW event. Okay, on day 2 of the event, he basically says, "Look, if you like what you hear, if this is good value, I've got a what does he call it? Mastery University, and if you want to buy it, it's $10,000." So he took you from 1,000 to 10,000, right? And you pay $10,000, then you become part of his university, right? And there's 5,000 people in the audience, and I would dare say that 2,000 of them would say yes to that, or 1,000 of them would put their hand up and buy that. Do the math, not bad. Okay, and now at the night of day 2, he's a very smart guy. He's got a way of getting people in the room that have real, money, like as in $100,000 that they would be willing to part with. And then he brings them into a separate room. And then he makes out like he's not going to be showing up, but then he does show up. Because remember, Tony Robbins does his own selling to this day. Okay. There's a magical piece of magic in that. Everybody's trying to get away from selling, and there's a debate to say that should be your primary role. Maybe not, depending upon your personality, what you're good at. But then he puts you in a room, and then he sells you a $100,000 platinum partnership, which again, X amount of people say yes to. And then you're in the $100,000 platinum partnership, and then he sells you into the higher one, which is roughly $250,000. If you make it into that, there's a chance that you go into his queue, because he has no time to do it, but you could spend $1 million to get his coaching, be $1 million plus upside. So Road Dogg, you see the way he brings you in, and it's a natural ascension ladder. And then the more money, that the expression that I want you to be thinking of, it's in all group coaching, that everything I just described, marketing, the university, the master university, the platinum partnership, and then I think it's called titanium, whatever it is. It's all group coaching, right? The one-to-one stuff is the $1 million a year. Maybe that's group. I got no idea. But basically it's all group coaching. You know what I mean? And then what happens is you're just rubbing shoulders. When you're rubbing shoulders with other people that can spend $100,000 on Tony Robbins, there's some magic in that. Like, it's got network effects, by the way, right? Where the more people that come in, the better it becomes for the other participants. Right. So yeah, group coaching. I know exactly what you're talking about, Road Dogg. People have this misconception that you got to do one-to-one coaching, or that's where the highest level of value is. And of course there is. But don't think for a second with group coaching that you're not doing, call it spot coaching, right? Where you're doing some one-to-one stuff, and you can still do some one-to-one stuff, but the framework, the model is group. And the more people you've got in there, the higher level of questions, the higher level of discussion, the higher level of masterminding, the higher level of ideas, the higher level of feedback. If you're doing something like what we're doing, we're building out software. Again, the more people that are playing with it and using it, the better the data, the better the information, the better the feedback, the better the critiques. And by the way, just because we get a critique, one person, they're not always right. And this is where, again, you got to be careful to, have a, you know what I mean? You got to continually analyze that data. Just because somebody says something or that's their experience doesn't make them right. So yeah, Road Dogg, I agree with you wholeheartedly that group coaching, this is why we're, spent a lot of money on group coaching software, and we're going to continue to. We're still in the sandbox big time, maybe the quicksand, but the sandbox right now with group coaching, but it's super impressive. I think I said recently we got a billionaire who's just agreed to beta test the group coaching software for us, and it's going to be cool. So yeah, that's group coaching. Debatably has more value. To say that it has more value, also, Road Dogg, I think that's not necessarily a fair thing to say, because I think that there are definitely parts of it that are more valuable as group, but then I think there's other parts where you just need somebody, to bounce off of. So I think that there's massive value in having, one-to-one as well, but it should be part of the ascension. But a coach to think that all the value is in one-to-one is a mistake. So I think that's where we're going. What do you think?
I agree, Karl, that if you just have a business, a coaching business that's all one-to-one, you don't have anything that's scalable.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Like you're just trading your time for dollars. That's all you're doing. And so you're not even really building a business. You're just creating yourself a job. I don't know. That may be
100%.
Right. So
100%.
All right, big shoots.
But that being said, but Road Dogg also, just to be fair though, but there's also folks listening, right? See, a lot of like coaching, it just depends on, look, Little Red Arrow, you are here, right? Like where some folks, they're at that twilight part of their life or career, maybe, right? I don't want to say life, but their career where they're like, look, I don't want anything scalable. I don't want to sell anything. I want to I've got my retirement set up and I just never want to touch 5 cents of it. So anything that I spend on my holidays, on my grandkids, on my kids, on traveling, I want to be able to pay for that. So let's call that 10 grand a month for simple math. I want to be able to, I need to make 10 grand a month so that all of my, monthly expenses are covered plus, for an emergency. And I feel comfortable and I sleep well at night knowing I'll never have to touch my retirement. You know what I mean? Like that's where they're at. And that's okay. But then somebody else, younger, our age who wants to, build and wants to kick some, what, and wants to, sell something for multiple 7 figures and really crush it. Okay. What you just described is not the roadmap that they want. So that's, what I mean? Like, it's that little, look, 2 things or 3 things. Little red arrow, you are here. 2, what do you want, right? Like, what's the destination? And then coaching, the roadmap is the gap in between.
And right there.
So there you go.
Right there. The hardest question for anyone, it's like asking my wife,
what do you want?
Where do you want to go for lunch? You know what I get from her? Doesn't like we literally just yesterday. I'm like, where do you want to go for lunch? I'll take you. I'm like, oh my God, can you tell me where you want to go? Save a lot of time.
I love
All right. On that note, because I know you've got rum slushies in the queue, I'm sure they're melting away right now.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm so jealous right now, dude. Okay, so close us up. What is the one thing besides keep your slushies out of the sun? What's one thing that people can take from today's episode and implement it right into their business?
One thing. I think that just the premium buyers, like just knowing, again, like thinking metaphorically of creating that wall, helping your clients create that wall, helping your client build that, that premium high level, what in Tony Robbins' world, it's the $100,000 platinum partnership, creating that product. But it needs to be, it's a different experience. Actually, that's Road Dog. So I want to leave with that, but also just 2 things. Wealthy people, people that buy platinum level products and services want 2 things. They want exclusivity and they want experiences. Exclusivity and experiences. Like I said, I bought some high-end rum. There are only 500 of them. I'm like, oh my God, I got to be one. You know what I mean? Like pathetic, whatever. I don't know, but maybe this says too much about me. Don't know. But I'm like, yes, please. Right? Like I just immediately the exclusivity of it, sign me up, So I think that, so when because right now everybody's thinking, I need a really high-end coaching program. Okay. If you build a really high-end coaching program and you don't have exclusivity built into it, and then you don't have experiences built in it, like Mexico, Turks and Caicos, Paris, like I talked about earlier, I think you'd be missing out. Like if a retail store, Road Dog, wants to compete. We get the question all the time. In fact, we've answered this probably a year ago now, whatever. But somebody was saying, like, can a retail store legitimately compete online with Amazon? Sorry, no. Does a retail store, can it compete? Brick and mortar with Amazon long term? Like, is it possible? Is it a flat no? Is it a maybe? And is it a yes? Right? And the answer is, if you want to compete with them, you must create an experience. So an example, if you wanted to have a hockey shop, you can't just have a hockey shop the way you did 10, 20 years ago. They've got to come in and have an experience. So that would look like a hockey rink. That would look like different sticks with different lies and different curves. So then, where they can go and they can shoot. And and if there was a goalie in net, that's a higher level experience than if there's no goalie, right? So like, and if you have a basketball shop and you're selling basketball shoes, to have a basketball court and for them to be able to dribble a basketball, shoot a basketball, that's an experience. That's how you're going to compete online. But trying to create a basketball shop like they did back in the day, I think that you'll struggle mightily. But that's how you compete, is by creating an experience. I said I used to own a hockey rink, and we would take people to Canada because Canada is the home of hockey, apparently, right? So if you were a hockey player, you would want to play against Canadians in Canada and walk through snow on your way. Like, that's the coolest bit of everything. it wasn't even like playing hockey was amazing, but walking through snow on the way to the rink, there's total magic in that, right? If you live in Florida, you live in Arizona, you live in the southern states, you live in the southern hemisphere in a warm climate, walking through snow to your hockey game is just freaking magic. And then playing against Canadians, you know, in Canada is just next level. So it's an experience, and people talk about it for many years to come. So, and parents will finance, borrow money against their house, etc., and really, and spend big bickies on this stuff. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer, bud. That's my exclusivity and experiences shoots.
You mentioned Hockey Life, right? That's a different experience walking into a Hockey Life store.
This is it. It's just unbelievable.
Right.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. You know what? To take it out of hockey terms, for the non-Canadians listening, it's sort of like going into, what's the hunting store, like Cabela's or what's the other?
Pro Bass. Yeah.
Thank you. Clearly, I'm a hunter. But like you go in there, and it's like it's an experience, right?
100%.
Anyways, it sounds like they're
100%
for the next bar dance. So let's wrap this up. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the My Time man himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information on how to build your own coaching business, visit focus.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share the fellow coach or someone you think might like a great coach. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate this episode as well on iTunes and Spotify. Give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. And that is it, folks. We will see you on the next episode. And as I always like to say, remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.